What would happen if you started or took your business to $1 million, $2 million, or $5 million in annual revenue? What would that mean to you personally, your family, community, and your network? It can happen. A Million Veteran Millionaires is a mindset engineering Zoom call platform created to rally and gather veteran startups or veteran-owned businesses who want to work together to help each other succeed. We will first focus on changing mindsets that keep you back and go through a process called mindset engineering to take steps to achieving success. We will feature other successful business owners who are leading the way, who are supporting this mission. We are limited to 100 attendees initially. The cost is free to attend. If you would like to know more, please visit amillionveteranmillionaires.com. You deserve to have a successful business, and we want to help you. Change your mindset, change your future.
Hi, my name is Andy Valadez. You're here with Molly Brown, and we're recording our second module for a Million Veteran Millionaires. And we're going to go through a little bit more detail on what mindset engineering is. And then I may have a question or two, or we may provide some other feedback from a marketing perspective on things that you can do to move your company forward or move your idea forward and kind of just change the way we think so that we can achieve the success we want to achieve for ourselves, our family, and our community. Hi, Molly. How are you doing today?
Hi, great, thanks.
All right. We had fun on the last module, but I'm looking forward to this next one.
Yeah, sure. So I wanted to go through some really specific action steps that people can take to design their mindset. And I'll start with some kind of description of the mechanics of what's kind of going on in the brain and in the mind. I'll kind of use those terms interchangeably so that we understand what it is that what these action steps are actually going to change in our lives and the results that we're getting. So the first thing we kind of want to understand is that the world around us is so much bigger. There's so much more data and opportunities in the world around us than we're actually perceiving in our conscious mind. That the first thing that the brain does as it receives all of this data, we'll think of it as streaming data from all of your 5 physical senses, is this constant data stream that your brain is putting together in like a video editing software kind of way of taking all of these things and making your concept of the outer world. So the first thing that happens in your brain before that information even makes it to your conscious thinking mind is that information is down selected into a manageable amount of information that you can actually think about and make decisions using, which is actually much smaller than showing you the objectively large world and all of the information of the world. It gets down selected into things that based off of what you already believe. So these beliefs are wired into your brain already by the age of about 7 is when we get this first kind of wirings about what we believe to be true about the world. And these beliefs become self-fulfilling prophecies. As we believe something to be true and we make that connection in the brain, then when we see like 10 things that are true, and the brain has to down select something to give us in our conscious mind to think about, the brain down selects the thing that we already have a mapped connection in the brain, a belief saying that we think that's true. So in that way, the things that we're already thinking about, the things we already think we're capable of, or the things we're already experiencing in our lives, like the results we're getting in our businesses and our relationships and our health and all of our physical goals, all of that, anything we've already experienced is represented by a connection in the brain. And then as we down select the data, we're again shown things that confirm what we already believe to be true. And this gets us stuck in like a plateau or a feedback loop. So when we want to change the results that we're getting, we don't have existing connections in the brain to show us to filter the data that the brain is showing us differently. So a very powerful exercise in order to actually establish these connections in the brain so that you can see a different data set in the world around you. And then you can make different decisions, you can make different actions. All of these downstream kind of things change only after you're able to perceive the world around you differently. So the way we make these connections in the brain is through visualizing. So when you choose to close your eyes and put earphones on or kind of cancel out these streaming data sources that your five physical senses give to your brain, you choose to cancel those out and to create a picture in your mind that you have complete control over that picture. You can design it exactly how you want it to be. And as you think through all the details of that picture, say that picture is you getting the job that you want. So that you can add all these details to that, like seeing yourself in the interview, seeing yourself being offered the job with the amount of money it is that you want. You can imagine what that amount looks like written on a sheet of paper that's handed to you. You can imagine being offered a handshake and accepting a handshake. You can add all this detail to it, exactly how you would want to perceive in the world around you. And as you do that, you are instructing the brain to create connections that enable you to see these things in the world around you. And so when you do this repetitively through visualization, you're changing the architecture inside your brain, the circuitry of how it's wired. So now that brain, when you open your eyes again and you come out of your visualization and you go out into the world to interact with people and all the opportunities around you, you've created a different filter that you're now perceiving all of the infinite opportunities around you differently. And you're perceiving them, the filter that you've designed in your mind now is designed to show you the opportunities that will lead to this outcome that you want. And so people use words like manifestation or attraction for this, but really what's happening is these possibilities, these opportunities have always been in front of you. And you probably have friends that have been able to capitalize on them and take advantage of them. And they seem to be exactly the same as you. And you wonder why you're the unlucky one or why they're the lucky one. What's really going on there is all of these opportunities are available to all of us. But some people have a mindset that is designed such that they're able to see them. And others of us have a mindset that literally makes us blind to them because we have different beliefs about who we are and our value in the world and how the world is going to respond to us. So by designing what you want to happen in real life and designing a visualization around that, which could be like a movie scene, and you want to add as much detail to it as a movie scene would have. It's important to know what you're wearing, who's around you, like who's the cast of characters, what do they say to you, who's the hero, who talks first, how do people treat each other, what are the things that you're receiving in the scene, what are the things that are changing your life that are happening in the scene. Are you going in and out of a different house? Are you driving a different car? Are people treating you differently? Are you getting a handshake that symbolizes you're getting this different job that changes all of these things, that has like some symbol of changing other things in your life? So this is part of the engineering process where you want to sit down and you want to, I kind of have a process that goes back and forth. I spend some time in my mind, closing my eyes and visualizing this. And then I'll go to a journal or type it out on the computer and write down all of the things that details I've just added to this scene. And then I might go back and see it again and kind of do this back and forth in different ways until I add enough detail to it and that scene becomes easy for me to close my eyes and go to. When that scene is easy for you to close your eyes and go to, that means that those connections in your brain are getting stronger. And we need those connections in our brain to be stronger than the ones that are our old limiting beliefs about us. Anything that makes us shy or anxious or anything that has to do with an old behavior that's not serving us and getting us the results that we want to spend time running a different circuit in the brain. And that's what this visualizing and journaling kind of activities are tools to help us design a different brain. When we have a different brain, we can see the world differently. Now, nothing's manifested differently in the world. Nothing has like jumped to us in the world. It was always there. We just weren't able to see it. And using this, we're able to design what we want to see in the world and give ourselves the right filters so that we can see that in the world. So this week with this module, I'll encourage you to sit down and think about what is that milestone movie scene that you can make for yourself that would signify to yourself that you are at your goal. If it's, I mean, are you crossing the finish line at a marathon? Are people high-fiving you? Are they handing you cold water that's so good because you just finished your goal and you ran? Are you signing a check? Is somebody else handing you a check? Are you shaking hands? Are you speaking in front of a room full of people? What is the thing that you need to see yourself doing, that you need to identify as true about yourself, that would signify to you that you've arrived at your goal? And spend time at that place and running that scene in your mind until it's easy for you to see a bunch of details in that scene, and that you can at will close your eyes and go to that reality instead of what's around you. And when you're able to do that, you will start to see different opportunities in the world that will show you the path to the results that you've written for yourself in this scene.
Awesome. So yeah, I was listening to the radio today. There was a radio show here in Houston on KSCB Radio called Total Wealth Academy. And what Steve Davis, which I've known for many years, was talking about is that the millionaire takes responsibility for their situation, which means they observe what's around them, they look for opportunities, and then they pursue them and they go make them happen. He said that even one of his friends had mentioned that when he got rear-ended, or if he gets rear-ended in an accident, he says it's his fault because he should have left for his mission 20 minutes earlier and he wouldn't have been where he was. It's just a different way of thinking, right? So that's all to say. So as you were talking about, visualizing, opportunities, I was just thinking through some personal examples. I've got a potential client right now that I'm putting together a deal. I said, what would I do if I were him, to take my brand or my offering to the next level? And so I reached out to a friend that I had known for a long time who was really good friends with an assistant of a multi-billion-dollar executive. And so just dusted off that friendship, reached out to call her. I haven't talked to her yet, but the idea is that I could see a way for her to help us to talk to that assistant, ultimately go to that CEO and provide an offering that would be really big and beneficial to the client, and literally could make them a millionaire in the process. It's going to be some work, but it's an awesome way to be able to leverage the visibility of something like what we're talking about. I can't go into too much detail on it, but ultimately it'd be very passive income for him, and it would be a big client for him as well. And it'd help a lot of veterans because it is a veteran type of contributor to the community. So visualizing the phone call, visualizing making the connection, and then even talking to the client, because a lot of times, we set our level too low. He's looking at maybe doing 100,000 when in reality, the sky could be the limit.
Right.
So then even you're talking about Hollywood. One of my clients is an instructor. She's an acting instructor in Hollywood, and she's been in a bunch of movies and so forth. And there was an opportunity at one point where we were talking to the law enforcement community, because they have to act in essence. They have to go undercover and be the drug dealer or be a bad guy, and they could learn some principles from acting. You've noticed in Hollywood, a lot of times they'll hire real life, veterans, military guys to be in these Navy SEAL movies or whatever. But she would even say that her characters needed to know what they had for breakfast. That fine a detail, because it could be a question that popped up. If you don't have an answer for it per se, it might be a tip, or a tip off, if you will, especially for an undercover person or whatever. But you become that character, even though the actor is acting, whatever he or she is playing on the camera. has to be believable. And that's where actors are adept at visualizing who their character is going to be, and then bringing that magic to the camera that you look for, in these movies that we all love.
And the root of the results that we're getting in life is our identity as we perceive ourselves to be. And there's a great book called The Art of Acting. It's not by Stella Adler. It's class notes that somebody took about a class by Stella Adler. But I think if you look up The Art of Acting by Stella Adler, you'll find the book on Amazon or something. And it talks about that level of detail that an actor would need, a method actor would need in order to define a character so that they know how to act as that character. And that's really what we're all doing in our transformation process. Is we know how to act like a soldier. We know how to act like whatever business level that we're at now. But if you have a goal to be a millionaire, to be a CEO, to be running $1 billion company, whatever your goal is, it's transformational. And you need to know how to act like a different person in order to become that different person. And the first step is really adding detail to who that person is. And if you can't see it in your mind, if you can't see yourself achieving those results, you can't see yourself being that different person in your mind, you'll never be that different person. You'll continue to be the same person, or by default, you'll be the person that other people around you tell you you are, which is an unnecessary position to put yourself in, because you can choose to put yourself in a much more powerful position, which is the architect of your own future. And that starts by your definition in your own mind. And that is a great book on acting to help you do some, traditional Hollywood exercises in visualizing who are you and what would you have had for breakfast if you're a busy executive. Would somebody else have brought you coffee and you usually drink your own? Do you usually drink Dunkin' and you would have had something fancier? Who is that person, and what are all the tiny details of their life? Spending time in that reality will change the physical structure of your brain. And with that different brain, you will perceive different opportunities in the world. So they're very useful exercises to go through.
When you mentioned about closing your eyes and thinking, and I think last module, I told you I was taking a training from Ty Lopez, and he recommends meditating for 5 or 10 or 15 minutes, seeing what your day is going to look like,
Mm-hmm.
I was just went and got a haircut today, and my barber had just haircut stylist, I guess whatever you call them these days, right? He just got back from Aruba, so that started off a chain reaction of questions because I was like curious about what made him go on that trip and what that trip was like. So imagine before he invested that time and energy and money to get there, he did his research and plan for this perfect trip that he wanted on vacation. 5 days of sheer bliss is what he called it, right? Staying at a 5-star hotel, snorkeling in the volcanic, mountains. And I could just, in my mind's eyes, he's explaining to me, he's like, man, that was an awesome trip. He wanted to eat something that he couldn't eat in the US. And he described a meal that was served that, it just blew his mind and his taste buds, right? So I think that's what you're saying, is map out that, experience. Even reading this book, Flow, that was written about how to stay in that zone, if you will, because they did a survey that, people you hear, a lot of times don't want to go to work per se. They're not necessarily happy. Well, they surveyed, I think thousands of people, and they found out that people were actually happier at work because they were focused on something, a result, as opposed to those that were just sitting at home watching TV, let's say, just letting life happen. So there's some intentionality to what you're saying in every area of our life that we can create maximum value. I think is what you're saying.
Yeah. And like this kind of exercise, I would call visualization. I think we'll do a different module like dedicated to meditation and the things that you can really, like if you think of your mind and your body as being connected on like a teeter-totter with like a fulcrum point in the middle, we can we can use the mind to influence and change the body, and we can use the body to influence and change the mind. And that kind of pivot point that we can use to access both of them as a leverage, kind of place that leverage where we want it, whether we want to amp ourselves up or calm ourselves down or focus ourselves or make ourselves more creative. That point is our breath. And there's so much we can do to design, again, the breath that we're going to take during a certain meditation or visualization or segment of exercise. And that's a mental intention that we take. And then we have that mindset has an effect in the body based off of the breath that we can use to capitalize on that intention, to physicalize that intention or manifest the intention in the body, however you want to think about it. So I think I'll put that in a different thing. We'll talk a lot about breath and meditation and how you can either use your breath to amp yourself up or calm yourself down, depending on what you want your body to be doing at the time. And these are all just tools that start in the mind. You have to know in your mind, what do you want your body to do right now? Do you want your body to calm down, or do you want your body to focus? What do you want from your body? If you don't design that in your mind, then the environment around you designs it for you. And the environment around you tells you, well, you want McDonald's because they made an ad with the right colors and all the right things to go through your mind without you gatekeeping and kicking it out, to go through your mind and tell your body that you crave hamburgers. Or ads or advert, all of the advertisements are meant to go through your mind to get your body to take actions on behalf of the advertisement. And what we can do instead is through intention in our own design, think the thoughts and use our breath to get our body to go through the actions that we want for the results that we want. And really to understand as much and more about ourselves as the advertisers understand, and take a lot of that decision-making, all of that decision-making power back for ourselves.
Excellent. Yeah, they usually run those ads right when you're hungry.
Yes, they do. They know, like, a lot of this neuroscience is absolutely applied in advertising, and the time of the day when those ads are placed, like you have these kind of windows early in the morning as you're waking up and late at night as you're falling asleep, that your brain is in a transition between unconsciousness and alert awareness. And it goes through this kind of transition period where it's very suggestible. And advertisers absolutely know this, and they place ads, expensive ads in the early morning news and the late night news and programs. Those are expensive ad places because the advertisers in television know that the people watching at those times are susceptible at those times. So it definitely makes sense for us to know that about ourselves, because other people know that about us. And then we can capitalize on it for our own thing, like there are reasons to meditate or exercise early in the morning or late at night, or to journal early in the morning or late at night. And so one of those journaling practices is the one I described here. And we'll go through these modules, like some different ways to specifically use your journal, objective oriented activities you can do in journaling. And the first that I would recommend is that adding detail. Pick one movie scene that would represent to you are who you want to be. You've achieved the goal you want, and add detail to that scene.
Awesome. And you just reminded me, there's Robert Rodriguez is a famous movie director. And I think he says that before he ever makes a movie, even writing the script, he'll just go into a blank movie theater with the lights down low and just visualize the opening scenes and what's going to happen in the movie. And then he'll go write it. So maybe as a business person, take that time to plan, what is the day going to look like? What is the month going to look like? What is the quarter and the rest of the year? And then start, acting on that, and as you were mentioning the meditation part, my assignment for this last module I made it, a goal to run a half marathon. So I've been telling myself, I look forward to finishing that marathon October 30th, 2022 here in Houston, because that's when the Houston Marathon is. And even as I'm running and preparing just for the 5Ks and 10Ks coming up, telling myself, how much I love to run, how I see myself going across the finish line and the celebration, even though I may not be feeling it. You're talking about breathing, having to especially during the sprints, where I feel like, okay, I'm ready to quit, I want to stop, but no, just keep pushing. I guess it's the same in the other areas. So what's our assignment for next this month?
So so from the last module, you have a goal, like your goal of the marathon. So
half marathon.
Half marathon. I'm sorry. I just doubled your goal for you. So
but I'm not ruling the marathon out. Let's go ahead.
So to take some scene that would be in your life at the end of that goal, like crossing the finish line, or whatever meal you're going to eat after, that day when you've done all the running and you get to go home and shower and go out and actually refuel. What do you like? Whatever scene is exciting for you, build that scene as if you were a movie director. You would have to know everything. You would have to know how many people in the background cast are walking around. What are you wearing? What does your voice sound like? What is your attitude? How are other people treating you? What is your posture? You're designing a character, and this is not wishful thinking. This is not daydreaming or fantasizing. The intention of this is to create circuitry in your brain that allows you to see opportunities in the world for you to become that person. So stick with one scene, pick that one scene, and every time you go back to it, continue to add more detail to that one scene and live that one scene over and over and over again until it's very easy for you to just jump into that scene. And there's so much detail in it that it feels real around you. And when you open your eyes and you're back on your couch, you're like, oh yeah, this is real too. That they feel equally real. And when they feel equally real, you've built connections in your brain that are just as strong as if this was a memory. And so you're kind of building this future memory that's going to change the way you perceive your world and allow you to make decisions leading up to it. So the assignment is just one movie scene.
One movie scene. Okay. And then we encourage you, if you're able to write that down and send us an email with what your ideal scene looks like, so that we can even invite you to share that at one point, maybe, or let us know when you actually achieve it, or maybe provide some feedback as to how to refine it and make it even more detailed, if you will. Does that sound like something we should offer to the folks that are watching this?
Absolutely. Yeah, write it down, share it. And as you write it down and you share it, it'll force you to add more detail to it also.
And in that same spirit, Kathy Bowersykes couldn't be on the call today, but at the last veterans meetup that we had, she kind of had us partner and just kind of have one of us step up and kind of talk about the challenges we were having in our business. And so it was really interesting to have different insight and then doors that could be open just from the conversation, because again, in our own thinking, there's a lot of limits, but then when you're talking with others that, have resources, ideas, and contacts that could help you from that conversation, we got assigned to a battle buddy, so to speak, that's going to report this next month on what we were able to actually implement based on what we talked about in that particular meeting. So that's the purpose of this particular platform. We mentioned in module 1 that when Harley Davidson started its club, only 30 people showed up for the first one. And then now they've got, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of members that are behind the Harley Davidson brand. And so when I was chatting with Molly originally, I was like, I was looking for clients that wanted to go to $1 million, and they're kind of hard to find because you don't necessarily say that. People just kind of operate on what do you call it? auto drive, so to speak.
Mm.
But then when you get them thinking about, hey, yeah, I could make $1 million, and what does that look like? That starts a whole different way of thinking. So when you came up with 1 million veteran millionaires, that, as we socialize it in private conversations and public, online or whatnot, people have responded. So one of the guys that, asked me a few questions, I guess he goes, well, he wants to bring in some resources to what we're doing. And I think as we go forward, we're going to see, that manifest. So I'm looking forward. And that's what I've been visualizing, 1 million vets. What does that look like? 1 million veteran millionaires, with resources that are able to benefit their families, their communities, and just, be a resource, as we see just this focus on veterans, even, absent this, just outside of, what we're doing. Right. So,
yeah.
All righty. Anything else that we want to talk about?
I think I'll keep it there for that module.
Okay. So we'll post this on the website, and then the next one will be the same time, same bat channel. And we'll keep adding more folks to the mix, and have some guests maybe that can talk about what they're doing. And thank you so much, Molly, for sharing this insight. And again, if you would write down your scene and send us an email, and I'll put that in the description when I output the video on where to send the email. And we'll see you at the next module next month.
America needs veterans more than ever. As a veteran business owner, you are equipped with a focus, professionalism, and dedication that is rare in the marketplace. We are looking for former military, make it happen business leaders like you to join forces with the marketplace mission called Veterans Business Force National, a division of Network in Action Business Force based in Houston, Texas. We are rallying patriots to work together to grow opportunities for yourself, each other, and our community around the country. We meet once a month via Zoom to share our vision and align with fellow warriors. Together, we are stronger. Google Veterans Business Force National to find us before we find you. Apply to join our mission at networkinaction.com. We are Veterans Business Force National, on mission and locking arms.